fire is it's spitting out its guts and burning the okay, so children playing with fire. That's actually a thing. So let's get into these fuel management zones, okay? So as Todd mentioned, you most have a zonal approach for that first 100 feet. First, zone 1 or A is usually 30 to 50. They're actually starting to expand it out to 30 to 50 feet. And zone 2 or B is usually 50 to 70, sometimes 150 feet or even more. So zone A, zone 1, this first 30 to 50 is really the most critical defensible space. Firefighters actually make conscious decisions. When they go through a neighborhood and they look at a property and they say, I don't really want to die trying to protect somebody's possessions. So we're going to skip that house there. I can set up a perimeter on this house. Okay? They make a conscious decision. And if they see that you've got ridiculous vegetation growing up to the eaves of your shade shingled house, they're probably going to move on. So as Todd mentioned, spot fires are everything, okay? It's usually not this wall of flame that just mows over your house as he showed in that picture. It's usually these spot fires, okay? And that's a wooden fence, all right? And as he mentioned, what most people have is they have a fence terminating right into the side of your garage with a wood gate coming right up under the eaves where the flames can dwell there and get into your attic, and then we're off to the races. So there's nothing wrong with replacing it with a non-flammable fence there, or masonry. Do a masonry wall and a steel gate, you know? That alone could help save your house. Don't pile wood up against your house, as he showed. So many homes we lost in scripts were lost that way. Shake shingle roofs and wood sheds right up against the house. So from a landscape standpoint, in zone 1, we like to use a lot of hardscape. I know Todd loves that mulch right there, all right? This is huge, guys. Don't plant under your eaves. This is also where I'm very consistent with Todd. This apron helped save this house. This was the Witch Creek fire. This is one of my customers. It was so hot that the lawn actually burned. That streak down there, that was a metal water tank. Okay? This was a very hot fire. Every other house on the street burned to the ground, except for our customers. It's pretty heady stuff to walk into a neighborhood and see that your customer's house is the only one left standing. Concrete, gravel, or decomposed granite aprons. Okay? No, I do not recommend using mulch right up to the side of the house. Absolutely not. Here's a house that also survived the cedar fire. And you can see this was one of the first houses built. This was in 2000. This is actually before the cedar fire, but we thought, let's put an apron all the way around the house. Now we make them a little larger. We had low hydrated vegetation and DG path. This house went through the fire just fine. In fact, it was part of our fire study for the U.S. Navy, which we'll talk about in a minute. Maybe in that zone 1, we're doing things like lawns, but instead of lawns, let's use a native lawn substitute like field sedge, which, oh, by the way, you can't mow. So it makes great lawn substitute. Okay, zone 2, that's that next 50 to 70 feet. It's up to 150 feet in some jurisdictions. Okay? Site hygiene is everything. This home has been through 4 fires. That's actually the barn, okay? That is an Engelmann oak tree, which is rare and endangered, much more so after the 2007 fires. And the reason it has a yellow color is because it's covered in bright yellow flowers. Why is that? Because we removed every non-native weed that was killing the oak trees on this property. Weeds and natives are an ecological switch, guys. All right? Look how clean this is. All right? That's how the oak trees talk. Thank us, all 40 of them, all 40 mature Engelmann oak trees went into bright yellow bloom, followed by lots of acorns, followed by lots of baby oak trees. This is what it looked like before. Okay, this burns. And this is not native. Okay, the only native in this picture is that oak tree right there. Here's an example of what site hygiene does for you. This is a mission manzanita, which grows in San Diego County. And it is healthy as can be, beautiful, hydrated. You wouldn't know a fire even came through there, except for the burned out dead knotwood right here and the ash, but all the weeds were removed. All it burned was a little bit of the duff layer. Okay, that's what site hygiene is about. You remove the ladder fuels by doing that, and you enhance the health of the natives on the property and their hydration, which is incredibly, it's all about hydration, guys. It's not about plantless. I'm gonna dissuade you right there, except junipers. Junipers suck. I'm talking from experience here, man. This is a real important concept that Todd touched on. You know, we like to keep about a 6-foot clearance here. We like to go 3 times the height of whatever the understory is. So if this is 2 feet, then I try to do another 6 feet of clear space. Thinning existing plant communities. And this was proven in our study too. This is also very effective. What I mean is we take it down by about 50%. This is actually a very hopeful talk, because if you get nothing else away from this talk, I want you to know that we can create defensible space and fire-resistant landscapes without destroying the natural environment around our house, the habitat that we moved here in the first goddamn place, okay? So, 50% looks like this, all right? You basically are going through and carving out a mature native landscape from impenetrable chaparral in this case. We actually grind up everything. Those trimmings are actually the best mulch you could ever possibly imagine. We put it right back down the ground, because when you open it up like this, what wants to come back? Weeds, fire, ladder. That's what a properly maintained, thin chaparral landscape can look like. It's your own friggin' private park. It's beautiful. It has a completely natural chaparral landscape that has been properly maintained. And yes, it went through the cedar fire without burning down the house. We're even messing around with using light overhead irrigation. How many guys have seen me speak before? Okay. You know how much I love drip systems, right? We try to give our native landscapes, we try to recreate Mother Nature as best we can, including overhead irrigation, but very light. MP rotators are like manna from heaven. So they put down 0.49 inches of including precipitation an hour, just like a gentle rainstorm. Well, this is what happens when you lightly irrigate natural coastal sage scrub. Do you see the difference? This is in so much better hydrated condition around this house than the non-irrigated natural vegetation behind it. This has consequences for flammability, it really does, okay? And we're not screwing up this ecosystem at all, because I'm only watering it 2 or 3 times a month for less than a 1/4 inch each time. Well, you can get an inch of rainfall in a thunderstorm in the summer. This is about 3/4 a month. One thing we like to do is we like to create perimeter roads. This is a 12-foot wide, basically dirt road that we created around the 75 to 100-foot perimeter of this house. The owner was horrified at first, but later grew to love his country lane. As I mentioned, this is that same house that's been through 4 fires now and done beautifully well. Within that perimeter, we have well-maintained, lightly irrigated native landscaping. Within zone 1, which is about 30 feet, we actually put in a stone wall, and within that we have regularly irrigated, non-native, and some native vegetation. What else did we do? We put an 8-foot decomposed granite apron all the way around this house. I think Todd would appreciate that. all the way around, 8 foot wide. Notice also the roof, metal, okay? Look at the native garden, the vegetation, well spaced. The profile isn't very high, it's lightly irrigated. Yes, that is shredded redwood bark mulch. We'll talk about that in a second. Yes, I just said all this. Now 3, scratch 4. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Like I said earlier, the Fire Falls of Yosemite going sideways 60 miles an hour, okay? And so the Navy heard about our success because we've had something like a total of 27 homes go through major fire events. And they actually hired us to do a 5-year research study and actually apply some science to this stuff. Everything now is kind of anecdotal, all right? And often highly destructive. So the Navy, why is the Navy interested? They're out in the middle of the ocean, right? Well, guess what? They administer tens of thousands of acres of naval housing right against wildland interfaces. When somebody says, you know, you can landscape around these communities with something that is drought tolerant, that is low maintenance, that has incredible habitat, because believe it or not, the Navy's interested in habitat. They have some pretty rabid biologists working for them. That looks good all year long, is great erosion control, and yes, it's all California native. They were interested. So, my co-principal investigator is Dr. John Keeley. Have anybody heard of John Keeley? He's one of the leading fire ecologists in North America, if not the world. He's written over 400 papers on fire behavior and fire ecology. I was pretty honored when John agreed to become part of this study. So, you know, our goals were to develop science-based fuel management strategies that were ecologically sustainable, that supported natural habitat, lower water maintenance requirements, aesthetically pleasing, and then we would take that data and we entered into something called the Fuel and Fire Tools software, because people are rather loath to have you lighting fires on their property. So we use this very sophisticated modeling software. And the selection criteria is the homes had to be located at the wildland urban interface, had survived a major fire event, and